Hi sewing friends, I'm Karina from Lifting Pins and Needles. Welcome to my channel, welcome to this video. Now in August you might have seen that I have taken a basic pencil skirt from Marfy to use as a block. So I've chosen my size, I've made tiny tweaks to make it fit me, and based off that pattern I've been showing different types of things you can do to alter the top part of the skirt and different things like that. So I've made a playlist with all the Marfy skirt vlogs that I'm going to link down below. If you haven't watched any of them and you want to get into skirt making and skirt modifications, you can go ahead and watch that. I've already made one hack, and that is like a faux wrap skirt with a curved waistband in knits. I'll pop a picture in here. So that was the first hack I did to the Marfy skirt, and I'm going to show you the second one now. Now I did an online shopping thing for fabric here in Brazil for the first time I'd ever bought online fabric, and I chose a really thick printed canvas to make cushion covers for my sofas in the living room. Have I made those? No. Did I pre-wash the fabric? Yes. So I pre-washed the fabric. I was pressing it, just getting ready like mentally to make those cushions. Doing the home decor is so hard for me, although it's so easy. I just always am drawn to garment making, so I've been like procrastinating with that thing. Anyway, the more I looked at this fabric, I was like, oh, I'd love a skirt in this. And yeah, I managed to squeeze out just enough for the skirt and facing pieces out of this thick canvas. And the hack I'm doing to this skirt is I'm using facing pieces. The facing pieces are a bit wider, and I'm not doing the facing pieces on the fold because I am doing a zipper on the front from the top all the way down. Now I was very fortunate to have in my stash the correct color zipper to match the fabric, and it's a double-ended zipper, so I can open it like the ones that you would use on a jacket. That's what I wanted for this, and that's because at the zipper stop at the end it's nicely finished, you know, so that's what I wanted.
Anyway, let's hop into just the bugs.
Let's hop into the bits and bobs that I've filmed, especially how to insert that zipper in the front, how I'm gonna do a fake flat felled seam, and top stitching and the facings, and then you're gonna see how it looks. This is Marfy 0757, the base skirt I've been using. I've drawn it all onto my skirt. I'm gonna do a zipper front there, and I've left a hefty seam allowance there about 1 inch so I can attach on that zipper in the center front. I've cut the facings that I've drafted before, leaving that same seam allowance in the center, so it's not on fold like the original skirt. For the back, I've also done the normal facing. I've left a little, like a centimeter there in the middle, but I've left it on the fold. I didn't cut it, and I've left quite a lot of seam allowance on the sides because this is a stiff, thick fabric. I might need to let it out a little bit. This is the way I top stitch everything. I use my edge stitch foot. I put it on 3.5 length, and I do the first row of top stitching like that. It's super fast. I don't have to worry if I'm being accurate because the foot does it for me. And then to do the second row of top stitching, I switch my foot to a 1/4 inch foot. I go back to 3.5 length as well. And then I go ahead and do the second row of top stitching. Super fast, super easy, looks super clean and super straight. I back tack my darts, as you can see me pulling the thread through. I don't like back stitching, so I do a little knot at the back, and that gives a really clean finish. Here you can see the back piece looks like a fake flat felled seam, but it's not. It's just because I didn't cut the fabric there. That is how it looks on the right side, the double row of top stitching, and my darts are top stitched down. I have this zipper, and this is a proper double-ended, which means you can open it, and that is what I want for a skirt. So I have this, and it matches the skirt, this sort of neutral color. I think it's a bit too long for what I want. This skirt is going to have a facing, so if I use the top of the zipper right there at the edge, it'll come too low. So So I'm just going to make it shorter, and then I'm going to snip the top off once it's already attached. I don't know if you can see there, but on the right side of my zipper here, I've marked with a chalk, yellow and yellow there, so that I know that that's the right side. I sometimes get confused. But basically what I want to do is place this on top there, flip this around, and I'll have the wrong side of the zipper looking up to me and the right side of the zipper with the right side of the fabric. And on that crease there, you know, I've marked the crease really well. I'm going to sew on that line of the zipper about 1/4 inch into the zipper. I'm going to match that with that little crease line there. So I'm going to carefully pin that all the way up. So this does look a bit strange, doesn't it? I've got my zipper pinned sort of into the skirt, right? But when I flip this is how it's going to look once I've sewn that on, and it's going to have a bit of the exposed area that I like. I want to have that exposed area there. So yeah, that is what I'm going to do. I'm going to go ahead and sew that on. Once I've sewn that on, I will deal with the other side. So to sew this zipper, I'm guiding my zipper foot on the left, as you can see, with the edge of the zipper teeth. And if I go really straight all the way down, I'm going to get my stitch to be 1/4 inch, you know, what I wanted to match my seam allowance line that's on the other side on my skirt. So I'm whizzing all the way down, and when I get to the edge, I slow down because it's got that thick area at the end of the zip, and I back stitch there to make it nice and secure. And now this one is going to go attached to there. Now I'm never going to separate this zipper, because when I don't separate it, it's just easier to match the bottom and the top, at least for me. So I'm just going to flip this fabric over, find my little crease mark there from where I've pressed that seam allowance in the middle, and I'm going to flip it once again this side, match that 1/4 inch I'm going to sew in with that crease. I'm going to pin that all the way up. Okay, so I have pinned my other side of the zipper. I never separated it. I always just kept it united all together like that. And I'm going to open this up like this so that it's nice and flat there. Everything's going to be flapping to one side. And to make it more easier to be sewn on this side, I'm going to sew it from the bottom up. It's just not to have that extra bulk in the sewing machine, you know. So I'm going to go ahead and sew that the same way I attached on the other side. Seams right there at the bottom of the skirt are quite bulky, so I've got the hem pressed up and then the seam allowance on the center of the skirt pressed to the outer part of the skirt there. It's very bulky, so I'm going to do mitered corners. What I'm going to do to make it easier for myself is I'm going to put a bit of tracing paper underneath, folded like that. So I've got tracing paper there and there. I'm just going to stick that in there. And at this intersection right there, I want to have a mark on the other side and on here as well. So when I open this up, you can see I've got a dot there and I've got a dot there. So with my ruler, I'm going to make a straight line in between that. There. You can see that diagonal line. I'm going to get a pin here and flip this and try to match over that line on the other side. See? And then I'm just going to pin that line on both, you know, I'm just going to follow that line. I'm gonna do the exact same process for this side. So I'm gonna have these little flappy things pinned there. I'm gonna go ahead and sew that and then trim it about 1/4 inch seam allowance, trim it, and then flip it around, and I'm gonna have a mitered corner. I did this at this stage because I wanted that finished there, although I haven't done the hem or anything. That is finished because that needed to be finished there, so I can top stitch the zipper down all the way down. I want to do that on both sides with a double row, sort of to replicate what I've done on the center back seam. I've done my double row of top stitching there on the sides of the zipper, and that finalizes the front part of the skirt. It's all done, and I've finished the back side as well, so I can throw these together, right sides together, sew the side seams, and then deal with the top finishing the facing. The beauty of having your own patterns and leaving the seam allowance that you want, I left 2 centimeters, is that you're able to adjust. You can see those drag lines across my hips and my belly. The skirt is slightly tight, and it's because this is a really thick fabric. When you make something out of a really thick fabric, it turns out smaller than you would if you made it out of a thinner fabric. So I'm able to taper from my hip down and let it out a tiny little bit. I also want to taper it to my leg. So from my hip, I've tapered in less than 1 centimeter all the way down, and then did that little slant to match the shape of my hem, so I can hem it nicely. I've already done the facings, I've attached them, I'm understitched, and now I've folded them in, and I'm top stitching them down on top of the top stitch I'd already done to attach the zipper, and you're going to see what that looks like on the other side. Now, this was lots of layers. My Janome is awesome. It just goes through them without a problem. This is how it looks on the other side. That is what I top stitched down. It encloses the zipper in there. I had to trim off a little bit, but it's nice and closed and neat. So I've turned around. I don't know what the lighting situation is. I'm filming sort of at sunset. Sunset is going to happen within the next 15 minutes or so. So I'm like trying to grab the last light I can. Here is my skirt. It's super thick. As you can see in my video, I did have to let out the seams a little bit. And basically, I mean, if you're sewing with a really, really thick fabric, I think you should size up a little bit. It's because then, you know, it just takes up more space, the seams and everything, it ends up being smaller. So if I would have made this in a like normal garment fabric, I would have been fine with the size 50 that I am on Marfy for wovens. For knits, I do a 46 to 48 sort of thing to have a little bit of negative ease around the hips. For this, I'm just using the pattern as is, woven, you know. I don't like having barely any ease around my hips on woven either. I like maybe 1 or 2 centimeters of ease is enough for me, like an inch of ease. So here is my skirt. I mean, you're gonna either love it or hate it. Personal preferences, you know, prints are. I absolutely love it. Now I have one top that matches this in a purple tone. I don't have anything else. I don't have anything beige. I don't have anything green, but I'm planning to make a green top this color because I really like that color. There you can see the zipper, and that's what I was talking about. The zipper stop when it's for a jacket, it's nicely finished there. When it's just a long zipper, metal zipper, then you have all this flappy bit down there that's hard to deal with. Yeah, so I was very fortunate to have that. You can see my top stitching there on either side of the zipper. It just finishes up here, the zipper completely up, there's no waistband, it's a facing, the little flappy bit there. And at the back, I did some top stitching on a center back seam that doesn't affect fit at all. I mean, I could have just cut the back on the fold. The fit would be exactly the same, but I wanted a back seam there with that top stitching just for aesthetics. I top stitched down the darts as you saw, and I'm gonna turn this around. I hope with more washes this is gonna soften up because it's so thick and so stiff. I really wanted to make some bias tape, but I had nothing in my stash to match these colors, no scrap of anything. So I just had to serge this. Look at that fake flat felled seam. So it looks like it, but it's not. It's just that I put it on the fold, left my centimeter of seam allowance, and then sewed there, folded it over, and then top stitched it down. So totally fake. It's not the real thing. And in the front, you can see the facing is stitched on there, nice and secure, and the zipper's there. So the zipper thing is not like touching my waist there at all. So nice and neat and finished inside. I really like the mitered corners there. I mean, I had to do it because the thing was so bulky. I didn't really have another choice. So yeah, good option to do on anything really. Sometimes I'm just a bit lazy, but I really like how that turned out. Nice and flat here. It looks nice and neat and crisp. And yeah, very simple skirt. Very basic modification you can make to a pencil skirt. Sometimes your basic pattern is meant to be like all on the fold and have a zipper on the side, on the hip, whatever. You can modify that easily. Just create a seam in the front, give yourself a hefty seam allowance in the middle, and just go for it. Put a zipper in it. I love this. I love skirts like this, and yeah, I just like them. Have a look at some of the pictures. When I finally get my cushion covers done in the living room, I'm going to match my couches, aren't I? I'm gonna be that crazy person. But who cares? I don't care. I really don't care. Thank you for watching. I hope you can take some of these tips and apply them to your sewing so that you can make small changes to patterns you already have. You can do something similar if you like this style. Thank you for watching. Don't forget to subscribe and hit the notification bell so you don't miss a sewing tip with me. Bye.